Welcome to the Home Inspector Marketing Podcast. Because you're a home inspector looking to increase your sales, improve your cash flow, and boost your bottom line, you are in the right place. For additional training resources on how you can grow your home inspection business, go to microreturns.com right now. And now, here's the podcast.
Hi, this is Mike Crow, and I run a home inspection business. In fact, I've run a couple of home inspection businesses. The true joy for me, though, has been helping literally thousands of home inspectors build really solid home inspection businesses as well. We can help a single-man operation be able to do over $300,000 a year, maybe all the way up to $400,000 a year as a single inspector operation. Even better for me is the 80-plus companies that we have helped be able to build million-dollar home inspection businesses. I would like to help you be able to do the same thing.
At a recent mastermind event, Mike went through some of his favorite parts of Atomic Habits by James Clear. Here are his thoughts on just the first few pages.
All right, I'm going to go through some of the basics of this book. We are not going through the entire book. We're going to go through part 1, and then we'll go through part 2. My encouragement to you would be to listen to this book. I'm going to give you some page numbers. My suggestion would be turn to the page and either earmark it or something so that you will have that down the road. All right, so let's start with page 15. I'm going to tell you the absolute secret to my success. Every single day, and we heard Kevin say this earlier, all right, and I love what Kevin said. Every single day, I ask myself, what's one more thing I can do? What's one little thing I can do to make my day better? To make somebody else's day better that's important to me. Maybe it's Susan, maybe it's one of my kids, okay? What's one more thing I can do to make my company better? So on page 15, down towards the bottom, and if you want it right at the bottom of the page, just write 1%, all right? So you can see where I've highlighted here. So you can kind of see where it's at if you want. But here's how the math works. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. 37 times better. People think that it takes huge changes. It doesn't, okay? It's little things, and sometimes it's little things that build to bigger things, right, Ryan? You have your termite license now? So you got to go take the test? Nope. Nope? Done the test already?
I just have to apply it to the license.
However, at the last meeting, we started talking about this, and now he's gone, and he worked on it just a little bit every day. And it's going to look like overnight, boom. You know, you've got this huge new revenue stream. But it didn't happen overnight, did it? It happened 1% at a time, okay? So that's kind of a big one for you. On the next page, I want you to understand, just see this little graph here. I thought this graph was great. This is how you become an overnight success. Okay? And I say this, and I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek, but not much. Because, I mean, people look at me now, and by the way, at the poker table, I say this a lot. You'll hear it tonight, Will, okay? And that is, I get lucky. How many times did I say that last night? I don't know.
A lot, especially when you took my pot.
Yeah. By the way, that's part of making the person that I take their money from feel a little more comfortable, just so you know. But that's important too. How many inspectors, how many other business people do you know that are not doing as well as you, and they want to tell you why? Right? Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. Oh, it's because of this. Man, how did you get there? Well, I had a couple lucky breaks. I mean, you could try to teach them. You really could. Now, if they're my competition, I have absolutely no desire to teach them, okay? None whatsoever, all right? However, I mean, I traveled the country, and I sat at national conventions with home inspectors where there were 1,000-plus home inspectors in there. And people would go, man, $1 million company? Wow, how did you do that? And I actually thought in the beginning they wanted to know how I did that. I really did. You know what they want to hear? I just got lucky. And so that's what I tell them most of the time. Now, the serious one, they want to offer to buy you lunch and sit down, and then they ask some really astute questions, and you start figuring out who the serious people are pretty quickly. So page 18. I wrote down here at the bottom of page 18, it's a very simple thing. You might want to write this down. What habit are you performing? Did you hear the word performing? Not trying to perform. All right? What habit are you performing that will positively impact your future? What habit are you performing that will positively impact your future? Now, just like everything in life, there's good habits, right? That means there's bad habits as well. All right? And you need to make sure that you recognize that. I'm going to tell you a secret. There's neutral habits. Okay? There's neutral habits. So every habit you have is either a positive or a neutral or a negative. And our whole life, our whole entire life, believe it or not, is run by habits. Even when we think we're winging it by habits. All right, so that's kind of an interesting thing. And then on the top of the next page, I circled this one, highlighted this one, and I wrote down the word at the bottom, and I wrote the word focus. If you've been around me for any period of time, for the last 20 years, I have been trying to beat the word focus into everybody's head, okay? I tell people there's 3 types of time. There's focus time, there's function time, and there's freedom time. Now, we could do that. I thought it was kind of interesting because when Davey came in, and man, you live by the 5 F's, and of course my brain went immediately to those, and I was going, what do you mean? Davey, by the way, has really helped clarify me on the 5 F's, family, faith, financial, fitness, fun. I'm getting that down so much better than when he first told me. But it's true. And every day I ask myself, which one of these let's go back to this. What habit am I performing today that will positively impact my family, my faith, my financial, my fitness, my fun? Which one? What habit am I doing today? And so focus is incredibly important with that. On the next page, about 2/3 of the way down, it's kind of an interesting thing. Progress is such an interesting thing. Now, most of you have seen this, with trees that lose their leaves in the wintertime. They lose their leaves in the fall, and they don't get their leaves back till spring. And so that tree's not doing anything, right, until springtime. It's not true. It's just doing stuff you can't see, okay? In fact, in Africa, Susan, what's the name of that tree in Africa that has no leaves like?
The baobab.
Say it again?
Baobab.
The baobab, okay? Has like no leaves at all for the vast majority of its existence. But it stores water all the time, okay? So if you think about it, and people have used the example of boiling water. What temperature does water boil at? I don't remember.
212 degrees.
212?
Yeah.
So at 212 degrees, water boils, right? So let me ask you a question. If you turn the heat on and the water's at 190 degrees, is it boiling? No. At 200 degrees, is it boiling?
No.
Well, it's gotten hotter though, right?
Yeah.
At 210 degrees, is it boiling? No. But it got hotter, right? And then all of a sudden it becomes an overnight success, right? 212 degrees, boom, boiling water. This is the problem with habits. This is the problem with success. I watch so many people get right up to that boiling point, and then they pull the plug. It reaches 210 degrees, right? And they go, this thing's never gonna boil, and turn it off. But that's what you see all the time around you. You see people pull the plug right before it boils. And by the way, same thing with freezing water. So he uses the example in here in freezing water, right? At different temperatures, nothing happens to the water, it doesn't freeze, it's still water, still water, still water, still water, and then all the action happens at 32 degrees. All the action happens at 32 degrees, at least at our altitude and everything, okay? So I wrote down here, and I love to write myself little notes to help me kind of understand the main point of what I just read. And so when I'm thumbing through a book, I can fast read this book again. I don't have to read the whole book again, all right? This one says, cross a critical threshold. Cross a critical threshold. what is the, and I said this to one guy, and his story touches me, and he actually wrote a whole chapter in a book about it. He said, Mike Crow from Stage one time said, what's the one thing that you're doing that is holding you back from being the best person you can be? And his was drinking. And when it somehow when I said it the right way, he was sitting in the right place, in the right frame of mind, he heard it, and he went, you know what? That's it. I don't drink anymore. The last time I checked with him, he's been sober for 5 years. And his business has just blown up. So you have bad habits, or you have good habits, or you have habits that are neutral, okay? Well, what's that critical threshold? What is the 212 degrees for you? Now, thank you. So I'm gonna, Chris, pick on you for just a second.
Sure.
Home inspector marketing. What's one critical threshold? There's bunches of them, but what's one critical threshold he has to achieve every week to make sure he's going to be successful?
Me?
Yes, any inspector.
Well, any inspector.
Scott, for instance. What's one Scott has to do?
The one critical thing you have to do is get in front of the mavens.
Right. And what's the one number one thing we teach in Big Bang Marketing to do that?
The candy bowls.
The candy bowls. How many per week?
10 for every inspector you have.
Right. Okay.
Minimum.
See, he's gotten that, and this is the first time he's been here. Now, he's heard me speak before, and how many times have you heard me say that? Countless.
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 Yeah,
All right. Do you know why I say it countless times?
because it's so important.
Because I'm turning the heat up, and turning the heat up, and turning the heat up, and turning the heat up until 212 degrees hits inside your brain, and you go, well, duh. Why am I not visiting 10 offices? Oh, and what happens if we turn the temperature up a little bit more? Oh, now it's 15 offices. Now it's 20 offices per week, every week. And what happens to our business? We know what happened to the guy in South Carolina that we did this with. He moved from Montana to South Carolina, didn't know one person squat there. You remember him, don't you? He came on stage. We talked about him and everything. I was so damn proud of him, okay? His wife and him moved into that area, started visiting 23 offices a week. Within 3 months, he was doing 10 inspections a week and blowing it out the door. I mean, just wow, okay? So it's the 212 degrees. What's that critical threshold for you guys? Okay? And he likes to call it the plateau of latent potential. All right? Well, fancy word. So habits need to persist long enough to break through. 210 degrees, you unplug it, ain't going to happen. And you'll think, well, we tried. I don't want to get political, but I get so tired of politicians getting voted into office. We had a president that did this, just chapped my butt totally, okay? I have worked harder than I've ever worked before, and we tried, and we just can't do it. We elected the wrong man, okay? I'm sorry. But you are the president of your company. And you can walk in every day, and you can walk out every day, well, I tried the best I can, and we just can't do it. What you really just said was, I turned the heat off. I decided, well, that's not possible. And so there's this on page 22, okay? Here's what you think should happen. You think it should happen like this, you know, and it doesn't. It happens like this. You understand what I just said? The difference is we think there should be exact equal proportion of success to the exact equal of energy we put in. And it doesn't work that way. There's stored energy, okay? There's stored energy there. On the next page, he says, nearly everything, I love this. I love it when I see people say things like this. Nearly everything, he says, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with the goals I set and nearly everything to do with the systems I follow. And I teach all of you guys systems, people, and resources. It has to start with systems. Sure, you can go hire people, but if you don't have a system for them to follow, well, you better be damn well building one, or they're going to build one for you. And you might not like it, okay? And then he says, goals are about the results you want to achieve. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the process that lead to those results. Systems are about the process that lead to those results.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and as a friendly reminder, if you're looking to increase your sales, improve your cash flow, and boost your bottom line as a home inspector, go to MikeCrowReturns.com right now.